Hello everyone and welcome to my B&B Fan Club channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Luna's heart squeezed. She gazed down at her daughter and said, "Gracie, I'm sorry. I don't know what else to do." The pier was silent tonight, except for the repetitive patter of rain and the distant hum of the city. Luna had purposely chosen this location, anticipating Finn would arrive. He constantly came to the pier to contemplate and escape the weight of his own faults. She'd known him long enough to anticipate his patterns and knew how his mind worked when the world pushed too hard against him. Finn was dependable in his brokenness, which is why she had summoned him here. Her phone vibrated in her pocket, but she ignored it. It was probably Spencer or Trina wanting answers. Luna couldn't confront them, not yet. Not after what had happened at the Spencer residence 2 nights prior, when words had turned venomous and trust had break like glass. She closed her eyes, attempting to force away the recollection, but it clung to her like the wet coolness of the night. Footsteps resonated slowly and deliberately behind her. She did not turn, but she recognized Finn. His presence was a silent power, unwavering in the face of the pandemonium that seemed to follow him everywhere. When he spoke, his voice was low and gruff from tiredness. "Luna, what's happening? You said it was urgent." She turned, her gaze finding his. Finn appeared older than she recalled, even though it had only been a few months since their previous conversation. His hair was streaked with additional gray, and his jaw was rigid with an unwavering anxiety. He was a doctor, a parent, a guy with too many responsibilities, and yet here he was responding to her call at midnight in the rain. "I need you to take her," Luna whispered, her voice quivering as she handed up the infant. Gracie squirmed, her tiny fists hitting the air. "I need you to raise her." Finn's face wrinkled, his hands still securely in his pockets. "What are you talking about, Luna? Where has this come from? Whose baby is this?" "She's mine," Luna replied, her words laden with a secret she had kept concealed for months. "Her name is Gracie, and I can't keep her safe. Not right now. Not with everything that's going on." Finn took a step closer, searching her gaze for answers she wasn't prepared to offer. "Slow down, Luna. You aren't making sense. Why cannot you keep her safe? What's happening?" Luna's throat clenched, and she turned aside to stare at the black water lapping against the pier. She didn't want to tell him about the Spencers, the threats, or how her life had disintegrated in the span of a week. But she had to offer him enough to make him understand and say yes. "It's complicated," she said ultimately. "The Spencers are not who I thought they were. I trusted them, Finn. I assumed they were my family. But they've turned on me, and now I'm in trouble. This is a serious problem. I can't drag Gracie into it." Finn's face darkened with concern and distrust. "The Spencers. Luna, you've been a part of their group for many years. What happened? Has Luke said anything?" "Laura. Spencer." Luna shook her head, her lips forming a thin line. "It is all of them. They believe I betrayed them, but I did not. I swear I didn't. They've got everything wrong, yet they won't listen. And now, they're after me. I can't let Gracie get caught in the middle." Finn ran his hand through his wet hair, his gaze drawn to the baby in her arms. "Luna, there is a lot to take in. You're asking me to raise your daughter, but you're not explaining why. I need more than this. I need to know what's going on." "I can't," she replied, her voice shaking. "If I tell you everything, you'll also be in danger. I just need your trust." "Thank you, Finn. You're the only person I can turn to. You're the only one who's ever been good." The phrase hung between them, heavy with history. Luna and Finn had known each other since they were teenagers, 2 forlorn souls who had found comfort in one another's companionship during their summers in Port Charles. Finn had been the quiet youngster with a talent for repairing things, bikes, radios, and shattered hearts. Luna had always been the dreamer, wanting something larger and brighter. They'd grown apart over the years, but their link had never truly shattered. When Luna contacted him tonight, she knew he'd come because that was Finn's personality. But now, as she stood in front of him, asking him to take on a duty she couldn't handle, she could feel the weight of her request rest on his shoulders. Finn was more than simply a doctor or a friend. He was Violet's father, and he had already lost so much. His wife, Hayden, had left years ago, and he had been parenting Violet on his own ever since. It was harsh to ask him to take on another child, especially given the circumstances. But Luna had no other options. "Luna," Finn replied softly, "I'm not saying no, but I want to know what I'm getting into. If you're having problems, I can help. I can chat to the Spencers and find out what's going on. You don't have to do this alone." "You can't solve this," she exclaimed, her voice harsh with desperation. "The Spencers aren't simply angry, Finn. They are harmful. You're not sure what they're capable of." "I didn't either until now." Finn's gaze sharpened. "Dangerous? Luna, what are you saying? Is someone threatening you?" "Gracie." Luna paused, her fingers tightening on the tiny blanket. She wanted to tell him everything. About the night at the Spencer house, the accusations, the yelling, the way Laura's eyes had turned icy when she saw Luna. She wanted to tell him about the mysterious messages she'd gotten since, the ones that had her double-checking her locks before bed. But if she told Finn, he'd attempt to be the hero, which would only make everything worse. "I just need you to take her," she pleaded again, her voice softening and imploring. "Please, Finn. I understand it is a lot to ask, but I trust you. You're fine with Violet. You're a good father. Gracie requires that." Finn's look softened, but there was a hint of hesitation in his eyes. "Luna, I am barely holding it together with Violet. Despite my hospital hours and struggles with sobriety, I am not the person you perceive me to be. I'm not the ideal father figure." "You're better than me," Luna murmured, barely above a whisper. "I can't do it, Finn. I am not strong enough. Not just now." The rain began to fall heavier, and Gracie gave out a little whimper. Luna softly rocked her, murmuring a song she barely remembered from her own youth. Finn watched them, his expression enigmatic, and Luna wondered if he would answer no. She wouldn't fault him if he did. But then he reached out, his hand lingering above the baby before resting on Luna's shoulder. "Okay," he finally replied. "I will take her. But this is not permanent, Luna. You must investigate the situation and return for her. She is your daughter." Luna nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I will. Promise." Finn lifted the infant from Violet's arms with care and practice, as if he'd done it 1,000 times before. Gracie snuggled against his chest, her cries quieted, and Luna felt a twinge of jealousy and comfort. Her daughter was safe, at least for now. But the weight of what she'd just done, giving up her child even if only temporarily, settled into her bones like a never-ending chill. "Where are you going?" Finn asked as she turned to leave. "I don't know," she said. "Away. Somewhere they can't find me." "Luna, don't," she interrupted him, her voice steady despite the quiver. "Do not try to follow me, Finn. Do not try to fix this. Just take care of Gracie," she said without waiting for his response. She turned and walked away, her boots splashing in puddles as she disappeared into the rainy night. Finn stood there holding the infant and watching her leave, 1,000 questions unanswered. The Spencer house was a fortress of memories, with walls covered in images of brighter times, Luke and Laura's wedding, Spencer's graduation, and family holidays to places Luna had only imagined as a child. She had spent a lot of time here over the years, initially as Spencer's friend and then as something more. When her own family fell apart, the Spencers took her in, granting her a place at their table and in their life. She had believed they were her salvation, her chosen family. But now, as she sat in a poor motel room on the outskirts of town, she understood how mistaken she had been. It began with a misunderstanding, as so many tragedies do. Spencer found a note in Luna's apartment that she had never intended for him to see. It came from her cousin, a cryptic note about money owed and business gone wrong. Spencer, who was usually ready to assume the worst, had brought it up with Laura, and the accusations had escalated from there. They suspected Luna was involved in something illicit, which could lead to trouble on their doorstep. They feared she'd broken their trust. "You lied to us," Laura murmured that night, her voice cold. "After everything we've done for you, Luna, you lied." Luna protested, her voice quivering in desperation. "It's not as you think. I am not involved in anything. My cousin is in trouble, not me." But they didn't believe her. Spencer, who had earlier stared at her as if she were his entire universe, had turned away, his jaw tightened with rage. Luke, the skeptic, had said something about trust being earned, and Trina, Luna's best friend, had remained silent, her eyes filled with mistrust. The saddest part was that Luna was unable to completely explain. Her cousin's problems were linked to a world she'd attempted to leave behind, a world of debts and dangerous people, which she'd fled when she came to Port Charles. She had assumed she could keep it separate, her new life pure. But the past has a way of creeping up, and it had already cost her everything. The motel room smelled like mildew and sour coffee. Luna sat on the side of the bed, holding her phone and reading through unanswered messages. There were hundreds from Spencer, each one more enraged than the previous, accusing her of things she hadn't done. There was one from Trina, brief and cold. "We trusted you." And then there was the anonymous one, the one that had sent her running to Finn in the first place. "You can't hide forever. We know where you are." She wasn't sure who sent it, but she had suspicions. The Spencers possessed connections, finances, and a talent for acquiring what they desired. If they believed she posed a threat, they would not stop until they were certain she couldn't harm them. Luna didn't want to believe they'd go that far, but the doubt gnawed at her like an unhealed sore. Her chest wrenched as she thought about Gracie, who was safe with Finn. She had never wanted to be a mother, not this young, not so unprepared. But when Gracie was born, Luna sensed a shift inside her, a powerful love that terrified her because of its intensity. She wanted to be a better mother to her baby, to offer her the life Luna had never had. But now that ambition seemed out of reach. Finn sat in his living room, the warm light from a lamp throwing shadows on the walls. Gracie slept in a makeshift crib alongside him, a bassinet he had stolen from a neighbor. Violet was asleep upstairs, ignorant of her father's new responsibilities. Finn glanced at the baby, his thoughts whirling. He'd agreed to accept her, but now, in the solitude of his own home, the weight of the decision was overpowering. He tried contacting Luna, but her phone went directly to voicemail. He had even drove past her residence, only to find it dark and the door shut. She did not want to be found anywhere she went. Finn couldn't get the feeling that she was in serious danger, but he couldn't do anything because he didn't know more. He was aware of the Spencers' delicate family dynamics. Luke's past was riddled with questionable decisions, and Laura, while gentle, had a steel backbone that made her formidable when confronted. Spencer, their grandson, inherited their intensity as well as their proclivity for both loyalty and betrayal. Finn had never been near to them, but he had heard enough stories to know they were not to be underestimated. He considered going to them and demanding explanations, but Luna's warning reverberated in his mind. "They're dangerous." He didn't want to believe it, but he'd seen enough of Port Charles's underbelly to know that even good people can become bad when they feel betrayed. Gracie moved and let out a little cry, and Finn went for her instinctively, bringing her into his arms. She was so small and frail, but she carried the weight of Luna's decisions and Finn's commitment. He softly rocked her, singing a tune he used to sing to Violet, and considered how he would explain this to his daughter. Violet was only 7 years old, but she was sensitive, and she would ask Finn questions he didn't know how to answer. Days stretched into weeks, and Luna did not return. Finn established a rhythm, balancing his hospital duties with caring for Gracie and Violet. The neighbors pitched in when they could, but Finn was stretched thin, his sobriety tested by the stress of the situation. He kept Luna's identity a secret, only revealing that he was fostering a friend's child. But the questions persisted, and the lack of answers gnawed at him. Spencer came knocking on his door one night. Finn hadn't seen him in months, and the young guy appeared different, harder somehow, with eyes darkened by something Finn couldn't quite place. "I heard you have Luna's child," Spencer stated without hesitation, his voice tense. "Where is she?" Finn's expression remained neutral, his hand resting on the doorframe. "I'm not sure where Luna is." Spencer clenched his jaw. "She asked me to take care of Gracie, and that's exactly what I'm doing. She has no right to put her child on you and leave. She's in trouble, Finn. She's involved in something bad, and she's dragging everyone else down with her." Finn tightened his grasp on the doorframe. "She stated you turned against her. According to the Spencers, she betrayed you." Spencer's eyes flashed with rage. "She betrayed us. She was working with individuals that intended to harm my family." "Finn, you don't know the full story. The comments pained Finn, but he didn't flinch. I may not know the whole tale, but I do know Luna. She's not lying. If she claims she's in trouble, I believe her. Spencer shook his head, his voice low and harsh. You are making a mistake. She isn't who you believe she is. And don't say I didn't warn you when it all comes crumbling down. He turned and walked away, his footsteps echoing in the calm night. Finn shut the door, his heart hammering. He wasn't sure who to believe, Luna with her desperate pleads or Spencer with his icy certainty. All he knew was that Gracie was upstairs, sleeping in her cot, and for the time being she was his duty. Luna was halfway across the nation when she received the call. She'd been traveling from town to town, staying in motels and boarding houses and constantly looking over her shoulder. The phone number was strange, but she answered nonetheless, her heart beating. Luna. A low and frightening voice called. You can't keep running forever. She froze, her breath caught in her throat. Who is this? You know who, the voice replied. You thought you could simply walk away? Leave your mess for others to clean up? The Spencers aren't finished with you. I didn't do anything, she replied, her voice quivering. I assured them that I'm not participating. It's my cousin, not me. The voice chuckled coldly and sharply. It doesn't matter what you told them. They no longer trust you. And neither do we. The phone went dead and Luna dropped it, her hands quivering. She had no idea who we were, but she could guess. Her relative had gotten tangled up with dangerous people, and they now suspected she was involved. The Spencers, with their influence and connections, most likely disseminated the word, painting her as a traitor. She was completely alone now, with no one to turn to. She was moved to tears again as she remembered Gracie and Finn's firm hands holding her daughter. She wanted to protect her child and provide her a better life. But now she was unsure whether she'd ever see her again. Months went by and Finn's life became a precarious balancing act. Violet had become devoted to Gracie, referring to her as her baby sister, and assisting with little tasks such as diaper retrieval or lullabies. Finn watched them together, his heart bursting and tearing simultaneously. He tried to find Luna, leaving notes and checking with mutual friends, but she was a ghost who had vanished into the world. The Spencers remained a huge presence, their influence palpable in murmurs at the hospital and sidelong glances from those who knew more than they did. Finn maintained his distance, but he couldn't avoid the impression that they were watching for Luna to return. One night, while he was sitting with Gracie in his arms, the phone rang. Finn's heart skipped a beat when he saw the unknown phone number. He responded, his tone guarded. Hello. Finn, Luna said, her voice faint and exhausted. It's me. Luna, he replied, relief coursing through him. Where are you? Are you okay? I'm not okay, she said. But I am alive. I really needed to hear your voice. How is Gracie? She's okay, Finn replied, glancing down at the baby. She is growing. Violet adores her. But Luna, you need to return. You must tell me what's happening on. I can't, she replied, her voice quivering. Not yet. It is not safe. But Finn, thank you. For everything. Luna, wait. The call went dead and Finn sat there, feeling the weight of her absence more than before. He glanced at Gracie, her small chest rising and falling, and made a quiet vow. He would protect her no matter what. But he knew deep down that this wasn't over. Not for Luna, the Spencers, or anybody else.